I had to be a monster. The disturbing case of Zarbab Ali. If I didn't commit to being a monster, then she would have died for no reason. Those are the words of 28-year-old Zarbab Ali. It's a sentence that doesn't make sense to a sane mind. It's a sentence that attempts to rationalize the irrational. But in the quiet suburbs of Simi Valley, California, and the desolate stretches of the Antelope Valley, those words became the soundtrack to a nightmare. We often talk about crimes of passion or snapping in this genre. We talk about the heat of the moment. But what happened to 25-year-old Rachel Castillo in November of 2022 wasn't just a murder. It was a calculated ambush. It was a betrayal of the highest order. But it didn't end with death. Most killers run. Most killers want to distance themselves from the body, from the evidence, from the reality of what they've done. Zarbab Ali didn't just bury his estranged wife. He went back. He returned to the grave. And what he did next, well, that is why he calls himself a monster. Today on the Justice and Injustice channel, we analyze a case that concluded in court at the end of 2025. A case involving a bright young mother, a custody exchange that ended in a trap, and a confession so depraved that it left experienced detectives stunned. This is the story of Rachel Castillo. And be warned, this one gets very dark. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The silent alarm. Let's go back to November 10th, 2022, Simi Valley. If you know Southern California, you know Simi Valley is generally considered safe. It's a place for families, for commuters. It's the kind of place where Rachel Castillo was building a future. At 25 years old, Rachel had her whole life ahead of her. She was a mother to 2 young children. She was a sister. She was a daughter, and she was smart. She wasn't just drifting through life. She was a straight-A student in a master's program. Her aunt, Renee, would later describe her as a good mother, and definitely not the person the defense would later try to paint her. She was working hard to secure a future for her kids. Rachel lived in an apartment she shared with her sister. It was their sanctuary. But on that Thursday, November 10th, that sanctuary was violated. Rachel's sister returns home. It's a routine day. She puts her key in the door, expecting maybe the TV to be on, or silence, or the kids. But the moment she steps inside, the atmosphere shifts. The first thing she notices is what isn't there. Rachel isn't there, but her stuff is. Her phone, her keys. Her vehicle is still parked outside. In the modern world, nobody leaves without their phone. Nobody leaves without their keys if their car is still there. The sister moves deeper into the apartment. And that's when the panic sets in. She finds blood. And we aren't talking about a few drops from a cut finger. Investigators would later describe it as a significant amount of blood. Imagine that moment. You're calling out your sister's name. You check the bathroom. You check under the bed. You check the closet. Nothing but silence and the metallic smell of violence. She calls 911. Something isn't right, she tells them. She wasn't anywhere. Police arrive at the scene. They secure the perimeter. Simi Valley PD knows immediately this is a case of a mom taking a walk to cool off. This is a crime scene. There is a struggle evident. But there is no body. Rachel Castillo had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the terrifying evidence of her violent abduction. The X and the alibi. In any case like this, you look at the inner circle first. You look at the partners, the ex-partners. Rachel was currently going through a separation. She was estranged from her husband, Zarbab Ali. They had been separated for about 9 months, and the divorce was almost finalized. Now, usually, when a divorce is almost final, things have settled down. The paperwork is done. The heavy lifting is over. But for Ali, the end of the marriage signaled a loss of control he couldn't handle. Investigators bring Ali in. They need to know where he was on November 10th. On the surface, his movements that day seemed to revolve around the children. Ali told police that he had picked up their 2 children from Rachel's apartment that day. He dropped them off at his parents' house. This is a crucial detail. By removing the children from the apartment, he was clearing the stage. He was ensuring there were no witnesses. He was ensuring that Rachel would be alone when she came out of her room. At this point in the investigation, in those first 48 to 72 hours, the police are frantically searching. They are pinging towers. They are looking for surveillance footage. They are canvassing the neighborhood. The community is terrified. A young mother is gone. Then, 3 days later, November 13th, the search leads detectives away from the manicured lawns of Simi Valley and out into the harsh, remote terrain of the Antelope Valley, specifically a remote area in Little Rock, California. It's vast out there. It's quiet. It is the kind of place people go when they have secrets they want to keep buried forever. FBI agents and local police locate a site of disturbed earth, a shallow grave. Inside, they find the remains of Rachel Castillo. The hope of finding her alive is extinguished. Now, it's a murder investigation, and all eyes turn back to the man who picked up the kids, the man who was sad about the divorce. Zarbab Ali. He is arrested the next day. But it's what happens in the interrogation room and the story that unravels in court that elevates this from a tragedy to a horror story. Lying in wait. Let's reconstruct the crime based on the prosecutor's evidence and Ali's own admissions. This wasn't an argument that got out of hand. This wasn't a fight over custody that turned physical in the kitchen. Prosecutors proved that Ali drove to Rachel's apartment. He had already dropped the kids off. He knew she was alone. He told police he waited outside. He sat there, contemplating. He claimed later, "Everything in my body was telling me not to do it." But he ignored that voice. He made a choice. He snuck inside the apartment. He didn't announce himself. He didn't knock. He entered, and he hid. He told investigators he cut the lights. Imagine Rachel. She's in her home. The kids are gone, so maybe she's taking a moment to relax, to study for her master's program, to just breathe. She goes into the bathroom. The apartment is dark. When she opens the bathroom door and steps out, he is there. Ali attacked her immediately. Chris Castillo, Rachel's father, would later reveal a heartbreaking detail from the medical examiner's report. He said, she didn't even have defensive wounds on her arms because he stabbed her immediately to death. Defensive wounds usually happen when the victim sees the weapon coming. They put their hands up to block the knife. The lack of defensive wounds suggests a total ambush, a blitz attack. He stabbed her multiple times in the chest with a kitchen knife. In court, Ali would try to change the narrative. Despite originally telling police it was quick, he took the stand and said, "In reality, she put up a fight. I was a brute. I pushed her down, and it was gory beyond belief. Whether she fought back or was taken completely by surprise, the result was the same. The mother of his children was dead on the floor. But for Zarbab Ali, the night wasn't over. He wraps her body in a blanket. He tries to clean up the blood, a futile attempt given the amount found by the sister later. He drags her to his car. He drives her out to Little Rock. He digs a shallow grave in the darkness of the desert. He buries her. And then he leaves. If the story ended there, it would be a horrific case of domestic violence. But Zarbab Ali wasn't done. I am a monster. The next morning, November 11th, most people, having committed such an atrocity, would be paralyzed with fear. They would be establishing an alibi. They would be fleeing the state. Zarbab Ali got back in his car. He drove back to Little Rock, back to the remote patch of desert. He had a shovel, and he started digging. He unearthed the body of the woman he had married, the woman he had murdered hours prior. And then, in an act that prosecutors and family members struggled to comprehend, he sexually assaulted her corpse. Why? Why would anyone do this? When police finally caught him and sat him down in that interrogation room, they played the video of this interview in court. The jury watched as Ali explained his reasoning. He said he did it to confirm that I am a monster. Let's sit with that quote for a second. Just to confirm that I am a monster, I raped her. If I didn't commit to being a monster, then she would have died for no reason. This is a twisted pretzel-like logic. He is trying to say that by desecrating her body, he was validating the murder, as if becoming a monster gave the murder a purpose. It is the logic of a narcissist who views people not as humans, but as props in their own psychological drama. He buried her a second time in the same spot, and he left her there until the FBI found her days later. The trial and the excuse. Following a 2-day preliminary hearing, Ventura County Superior Court, Judge Paul Feldman determined there was sufficient evidence to move forward to trial. Ali's trial began on November 6, 2025 in Ventura County Superior Court with opening statements. Lamb testified that he and Detective Corey Baker interviewed Ali 5 times, November 13, 2022, the day Ali was apprehended in Victorville. When the detectives asked why he killed her, Ali said there was no reason, but that he had thought about killing her since they separated 9 months earlier. According to the video, the trial concluded in November 2025. The evidence was overwhelming. They had the confession, they had the body, they had the forensics. But Ali took the stand, and his defense strategy caused even more pain for the Castillo family. He tried to claim that the murder was sparked by infidelity. He claimed he was angry that she wouldn't let him move on, and that she had been cheating. This is the only way I could escape, he testified. I wanted her dead. The family was outraged. It's a classic tactic of the abuser. Blame the victim. Smear their reputation when they aren't there to defend themselves. Rachel's aunt, Renee Redding, shut this down immediately in the press. She told the Ventura County Star she was as straight a student in her master's program, not a drug addict and sex fiend. Rachel was a good mother. The jury didn't buy Ali's story either. On Friday, November 21, 2025, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder, but they went further. They found true on the special circumstances. Murder by means of lying in wait, and murder committed for financial gain. Use of a knife. Ali is scheduled to be sentenced on January 12, 2026, at 9 a.m. in courtroom 24 of the Ventura County Superior Court. He had already pleaded guilty to the sexual assault of the remains. The verdict brings a mandatory sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Senior Deputy District Attorney David Russell said, "This conviction ensures the defendant will spend the rest of his life in prison and that the community will be protected from him forever." Conclusion: the legacy. Rachel Castillo should be here today. She should be finishing her master's degree. She should be raising her 2 children. Instead, her family is left to pick up the pieces of a shattered reality. Her father, Chris Castillo, said it best after the verdict. He called himself a monster on the stand, and that's exactly what he is. He noted that while nothing can bring her back, they are grateful that justice will be served in this case, in this life, and the next. This case serves as a terrifying reminder of the dangers of domestic violence, specifically during the most dangerous time in a relationship, the breakup, the separation. It also shows us the depths of depravity some humans are capable of. Zarbab Ali wanted to be a monster. He wanted to prove it to himself. Well, he succeeded. He proved it to the world. But in doing so, he threw his own life away and stole the light of a beautiful young mother. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic violence, please do not ignore the signs. I want to know what you think about Ali's justification, this idea of committing to the persona of a monster. Is it a convenient lie for insanity? Or is it the true face of evil? Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for facing this chasm between justice and injustice.